Close of play of the fourth day of the fourth test between England and India at the Oval sees England close on 77 for no wicket. So Burns 31, Hamid 43. It means that they need a further 291 runs to win this match. They've got a full final day of 90 overs to come with a good forecast. Their target was set at 368, because it certainly hasn't been England's day throughout. Far from it. India scored 466 in their second innings. The men out today: Jadeja for 17 was LBW to Woakes. Rahane is having a pretty miserable tour. LBW to Woakes for naught. That was 296 for 5. Kohli made 44. He was caught at slip off Moeen, and that was 312 for 6. Then this terrific stand of 100 between Pant and Thakur. Thakur made 60 from 72 balls. He was also taken at slip this time off Joe Root. Pant, who should have been run out on 37, I must say England's fielding has not been at its best or anything like its best in this test match. He should have been run out on 37, but he was caught and bowled by Moeen. An absolute rasping catch that hit back at him. He was out for exactly 50 from 106 balls. That was 414 for 8. Yadav played a few shots. He was caught by Moeen off Overton for 25, and even Bumrah made 24 off 38 balls. So that was how India progressed. 466, setting England 368 to win in 2 hours and 20 minutes and the whole of the fifth day. Chris Woakes finished with 3 for 83 from his 32 overs. The seam was all worked really, really hard. Anderson, 33 overs, 1 for 79. Robinson, 32 overs, 2 for 105. Overton, curiously, only bowled 18 overs, 1 for 58. Moeen Ali, 2 for 118 from his 26 overs, and Joe Root picked up 1 for 16 from his 7. So the most important thing from England's perspective, and indeed as far as the game's concerned immediately, was that the two openers got through unscathed through those 32 overs. Burns 31, Hamid 43, and they need 291 to win. India, of course, need 10 wickets to win. So Michael Vaughan, Dees Das Gupta. Let's start with Deep tonight. Good to see you, Deep. Well, look, we've got a game on here, haven't we? That was where's where are you shifting on this?
Listen, obviously India, I would still say, are ahead, but then England's given them a great chance, and I think I've been on about this, that this pitch is not a day 4, day 5 pitch. I still think this is a day 2, day 3 pitch. It's so good to bat. Batting conditions are wonderful here. India batted for 143 overs, so I'm sure India would be aware that it's not going to be easy to get those 10 wickets, so they got to be really careful here. Having said that, what a start as far as England's concerned, 77 without loss. So tomorrow, you start from scratch. You got 291 with 10 wickets in hand.
Yes. And Michael, where are you leaning?
I'm leaning towards draw.
Right.
Then India.
Yep.
Then England. But what England have done is given themselves just a glimmer. I actually think for India, they probably need England to think they can win, because they might play a few shots and then it might create more chances because of the attacking element of the strokes. If England within an hour or so lose a couple of wickets, go, nah, we ain't going for this. I think it's the kind of pitch that you should be able to bat the day out, because I don't think there's a great deal of ground. I think it's harder for the left-handers. I thought Rory Burns did brilliantly there against Jadeja, because his last 5 or 6 overs, his first 5 or 6 were rubbish.
Terrible.
He got it completely wrong, no rhythm, lacking in kind of release points, ball full tosses, short balls, and then he got it right, and he suddenly started to find his pace. And I thought Rory Burns played brilliantly. His technique, what to play, what not. He had to kind of wear a couple because it was spitting out the rough. So a real challenge for the left-handers. I always look at, the pitch is playing fine, but how often do you see 291 scored on a day 1 pitch? It's not often that in 90 overs you get 291. But, if England can get the start in the morning, get a few away and send that message to the dressing room that it's fine again. It may do a little bit more in the morning. It tends to do a bit more, and there might be a bit of seam and swing. We'll have to wait and see. But, England certainly had the power. They certainly have those players in the middle that if they start well in the opening session and get to lunch, maybe no wickets down, 1 wicket down, and then they feel that they can have a dip in the afternoon, they've certainly got the players like Bairstow, Moeen Ali, and against a left-arm spinner like Jadeja, it may be that England have to tactically move Moeen up the order just slightly. It may be that you think, wait, Moeen's got a good record. I know he played a poor shot in the first innings, but his record against spin, he's got the best strike record in terms of hitting left-arm spinners in the world in T20 cricket. And it may be that England have to just...
sweepy plays
It might be that they have to be creative. And they have to move Moeen up the order and just say, OK, Moeen, you've got a bit of a licence. Get out there and try and get a few. I don't think it'd affect the rest of the batting lineup. And, I'd be intrigued to see how England go about it. I do think at this stage, I just fancy that the draw could be the favourite.
OK. Jadeja, I mean, he does feel like the key. I know there's only 2 left-handers, but he didn't settle at all to start with there, and it kept missing. I mean, the first ball he bowled exploded. Thought, whoa, here we go. But then there was always that release ball, and he bowled a bit too short. But then, yes, you're right. I mean, he did tighten up. But even to the right-handers, I mean, if England do get a bit of a start and do get going, you feel he's got a bit of a job to do there, going over the wicket maybe, bowling into that rough and making scoring runs difficult. So, I mean, do you think he's probably the key player for India tomorrow?
Absolutely, no two ways. I think minimum 3 wickets is what Jadeja needs to pick up for India to win. Because this ball is, again, it's 30 overs old now, so it's kind of softer now. So obviously, as it is, this pitch is on the slower side than on the softish ball. It's going to be very difficult for the seamer. So Jadeja has to play a big role here tomorrow for India to win this game. Yeah,
and if you're England, how are you playing Jadeja then? Are you playing him very carefully, or are you trying to get him off his? You
are, because you don't want Jadeja to settle down, especially for a left-hander. You don't want him to settle down in that area outside off stump, that rough area. You've got to be a little proactive. If he errs in length, especially, you've got to take him for runs. Obviously, Rory Burns been brilliant. He plays the sweep shot well as well. Every now and then he can do that and keep Jadeja under pressure.
Yeah. I like the way Hamid batted today as well, actually. I mean, he does like to leave a lot of balls early, but actually when there's a bit of a width around for him, he happily tucked into it.
Yeah, no, I think he'll get scoring opportunities because they'll attack him. We saw that late in the day to Siraj, that they went for this leg side field and went straight, and he just flicked a couple away. He got one through the slip cordon as well. I think this kind of pitch suits his game, quite low and slow.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to get too threatened by the bouncing ball because it's not on offer. If I was India, I'd bowl a lot more short balls to him and try and push it, even though the pitch is slow. I know it takes a lot out of the bowlers, but it's well worth bowling a few bounces. I look at someone like Jasprit Bumrah and I'm amazed. You go back to Lords when he produced that incredible slow ball from around the wicket to Ollie Robinson. On this kind of wicket, I'm amazed he doesn't bowl it more. When you have those fielders in front of the bat catching and you've got someone like Bumrah running in hard and he's bowling quite sharp into a length, the last thing really you're expecting is that loopy slow ball. You might just prod one in the air, or you might get one to just kind of grab in the surface. So I think, India tomorrow should arrive and think, wait a minute, this is a very flat wicket. This is an Asian kind of wicket, and we've got to think out of the box. By bowling, if you like, English lengths and English kind of styles on this kind of surface now, I don't think any kind of players would be worried about that. So you have to think out of the box, come around the wicket, over the wicket, change angles, slow balls, bouncers, Yorkers, try and get something through the air, polish that ball as hard as you can. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to convince myself that 291 is on offer. I'm trying to convince myself that England can get 291 runs, and I guess because of the recent memory of what happened at Headingley in 2019, and also, Pakistan last year at Old Trafford where they chased. I know it was 270 odd, but they've still got a bit of a habit, this England side, of doing the unexpected. So I'm telling myself I'm going to go to bed tonight. I'm going to say, it's on. It's possible.
Well, it should be possible, but there's a good reason why they haven't scored 368 before, and you can try and work it out. Hamid's interesting, isn't he? Because he's going to go to Australia.
Yeah.
He has got this very dependent front foot defensive technique, which is quite unusual for an opener to see him play quite so much off the front foot. And yet he's going to go to Australia with us not really having seen him play any fast bowling on that sort of pitch before. I mean, how do you think he will go, looking at the way that he plays?
I would think it's a concern with those low hands and the bouncing Australian Kookaburra ball. Cummins, Hazelwood in particular, get that extra bounce off a length. Yeah. But we have to wait and see.
Yes.
I think from the way I've seen him play so far, what I like about him is character. I like young players that come back in, and I like the fact he was on a pair. Yep. He walked out there this evening with his team under a huge amount of pressure, and he was clearly probably thinking about that play. You can see he wanted to get off the mark, but he's been able to just park that first innings poor stroke, and he's got himself to stumps 43 not out. So that takes a lot of character. Forget what the wicket's playing like. You've got to have a lot of mental strength to do that. You go back to his return to the team when he batted at number 3. He didn't have a great time of it at Lords. He was out first ball, then he played okay in the second innings. Didn't get a great score, but he played okay. And then he goes to Headley, opens the batting, and he played nicely. He gets a half century. So I do think he's made of some steel. Yeah. And that'll serve him well. Forget his technique. The technique may be a bit vulnerable, but if you're made of something inside and you've got a bit of steel inside you, you can make things happen, even when the conditions are against your style of play. If you've got that inner belief and that inner heart, you can certainly go and score runs in all conditions, and it looks like he's going to have to do that in Australia.
Yeah. What do you think, Deep, from what you've seen of Hamid? And I say it's unusual as to how predominantly he does play off the front foot.
Yeah, he comes across as a very subcontinental kind of a batter, isn't it? I mean, very front foot oriented, very straight. But again, as Michael mentioned, I mean, a lot of it would be about his heart, how much he's determined to go out there and score runs, how brave he is, and also minor adjustments in his technique. The low hands, as you mentioned, Michael, I mean, those are things that he can work on, and there's a lot of time between now and the Ashes where he can actually work on, and you have enough resources here to help him work on his technique, which might go on to help him.
Yeah, and also, I mean, he's not part of one-day cricket. As Deep mentions, the Test match at Old Trafford, it finishes a week on Tuesday.
Yes.
And then he's got, I'm sure he'll play a bit of cricket for Nottinghamshire. And then it's 2 months of hard work, of potentially trying to bring, maybe a cut shot. We've seen him play the punch off the back foot through the offside, which is a nice shot. But the shot that he played in the first innings where it bounced on him, he just looked a little bit uncomfortable. That's a shot in Australia that if you can play the bouncing ball and go over the top of gully, a lot of players would say that, you need the pull shot in Australia. I don't believe you have to. Steve Waugh never played the pull shot. He was a cutter of the ball. So maybe Haas could bring in a cut shot over the slips, that kind of ramp we saw Pujara play. So he will have
plays
to
havoc with the field.
Yeah, he'll have to bring an element of scoring from those bouncing balls, because you can't just allow Australia with a Kookaburra ball if you get in just to keep bowling bounces, and you've got no kind of option of scoring. So I like him. I'm not too sure how great he's going to be, but I like his character. I really like players that come out and fight like he did this evening.
Yeah. Where's Rahane going at the moment, do you think? I mean, he's having a terrible tour.
Oh yes. And my concern from last innings is the moment a batsman starts going down the order can be a very slippery slope. 5, 6, where does it stop?
Yes.
You have somebody like Rishabh Pant scoring runs. Sure. What is next? You want Rishabh Pant before him now? So
quite a young person's position 2-6, isn't it? You can introduce someone in there.
Exactly. Yeah. And so my point is, and especially, I mean, might be a great idea from a team perspective, get a left-hander in and somebody who's looked better. But from a Pujara, from a Rahane point of view, I don't think that helps his confidence. At times as a player, you want that, that sense of belonging or importance from the team, saying, we believe in you, we trust in you. And when something like that happens, I don't know whether that sends the right signal to someone who's struggling with confidence and scoring runs, sending him down the order for obvious reasons. So, yeah, and it's going to be tricky, to be honest. One more test to go after this. It's definitely under tremendous pressure. There are a couple of guys who are sitting out, including Hanuma Vihari, who's done nothing wrong, to be honest.
Yeah.
So he's been sitting there for a while.
He's had no cricket, though.
He hasn't played much cricket,
no.
yeah.
It's very simple. I think sometimes in this era, selection units, management are just too nice. I think England this week were absolutely delighted to see Ajinkya Rahane once again. They couldn't believe the look that they were going to get the chance to bowl. He's completely out of sync.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the end of his career. He can come back, but you watch England when they made the change. I wouldn't have started Sibley in the series. It was quite obvious that he was having a few troubles, and I think bowling attacks like bowling to him. England made the change, and it's kind of worked at the top of the order. They brought Malani. It looks a little bit like they've got more substance. I just think India, whoever they pick, will do better than Ajinkya Rahane at the minute. He's frazzled. You saw that shot that he just played across a straight one.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
He could have been at a left one.
Yeah.
He was giving out LBW reviewed. It was just missing the top of the off stump. And sometimes you're better off taking a player like that out of the kitchen. Just take him out of the heat just for a game or two, and you just say, look, have a breather. It's not the end of his career. He can come back when they go back to India, but for England, they would love to see Ajinkya Rahane taking guard again at Old Trafford. For that reason, I think you have to realise that and make the change.
Yeah. No, the thing with Ajinkya and the stage that he is in his career, it'll be very difficult for him to make a comeback, because my point is, you've got one more test match to go. You put someone like Hanuma Vihari in, and you've got to give him a fair go, right? So next time around, the next home series or next series, test series, is the home series against New Zealand. So obviously, Hanuma then goes on and plays that series as well. So where does that leave Ajinkya Rahane and his career? Because he's in his early 30s, 33, 34, whatever, something around those lines. So this, if he's dropped from now, from the test side, it's going to be extremely difficult for him to make a comeback.
But that's fine. If that's the best thing for the Indian cricket team, that's the best thing. It's international sport. You've got to pick your best.
Turns,
absolutely.
Let's get some reaction from England. I'll tell you who bowled really well. He did do it. It's a really good game. It's Chris Woakes, isn't he? Back. He's fresher. We'll talk about the other bowlers in a second. They look pretty tired out there. But Chris has been speaking to Simon Mann.
Well, Chris, if I'd offered you a draw at the start of England's second innings, what would you have said?
I didn't expect that question, but I don't know. I think there's enough time in this game to still get the runs. Obviously, after that session, we obviously feel a little bit pleased, more pleased than we were at the start of our innings. But we know it's a good pitch. We've been out there for a few days bowling, so we know how hard it is to take wickets. And I think if you take the game deep, obviously do the first session tomorrow, see out the second, then you reassess at tea and see if you can still win the game from there.
How well did the openers play?
Yeah, extremely well. They've played fantastically well there. The Indian bowlers were fresh. They'd been sat up there for quite a while, getting ready to bowl, and they've saw them off really nicely. So to play to the close there with none down is a huge boost for us.
What's it been like to play in this Test match? There's so much happened on the first couple of days, and it's slowed down. It's been an enthralling Test match to watch. What's it been like to play in? Yeah, it's been a great Test match to be a part of. Obviously, it'll be even better if we can go on to get a win tomorrow. But I think the wicket started with a bit in it. The bowlers all enjoyed themselves on day one and pretty much on day two as well. And then, as you said, as the game's gone on, it's got better to bat on. And the batters have had more time in the middle. So we've toiled as bowlers. We've got to hopefully make sure that we can make the Indian bowlers toil tomorrow as well now. Yeah, it's been welcome back to Test cricket for you. 47 overs. How difficult was it bowling in that second innings? Give us a sort of a feel of what it was like out there. Yeah, it was hard. I think I was speaking to Jimmy. I mean, he's obviously 4 tests deep in this series, and he was starting to feel it at the end as well. But I felt like on this wicket, particularly in the second innings, you couldn't bowl within yourself at all. You felt like every delivery you were at your max. You really had to drive it into the surface to get anything out of it. And when you do that, it obviously takes its toll. We've all bowled 45 overs plus there, so our bodies are a little bit sore. But thankfully got the 10 wickets, and the lads have played well tonight. What were you feeling when you got those 2 quick wickets this morning? You personally, and then Virat Kohli was out soon afterwards. Yeah, I think that was obviously having a difficult day yesterday, where we obviously didn't get too many wickets. You could turn up this morning, obviously trying to try and get those wickets, but we realised at the same time it was going to be a flat wicket. You had to be patient, and I felt like getting that wicket with my second ball gave me a huge boost, to be honest, because this wicket has been pretty flat, pretty tough to bowl at some world-class players on, and to pick up those 2 wickets back to back kind of gave us all a boost, I think. Do you feel it's one of those pitches that if you find yourself in a situation tomorrow where you can't win, it's not that difficult to play out for a draw, that the conditions are okay for playing for a draw? As it stands, yeah, it's a good wicket, isn't it? But we all know that scoreboard pressure and Test cricket on day 5 brings extra pressure, for both teams. So you'd like to think there's still a result possible for us, and I'm sure they'll be thinking the same as well. So it still leaves the Test match in a great place. We certainly feel that we can chase down those runs on this wicket, but I'm sure the Indians feel that they can bowl us out as well. What a series. 5th day at the Oval, sell-out crowd tomorrow, the sun's going to shine. What could be better? Exactly, it's great to be a part of it. I've been sat at home for 3 Test matches trying to be a part of this, and to be sat here on day 4 evening with a chance of winning the Test match on day 5 is a great place to be, and really exciting for everyone involved tomorrow. Chris, well done. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Simon.
Cheers.
Yeah, he's having a good game, isn't he? Interesting the comments he made there about the bowlers. Can Jimmy Anderson play another one this summer? I mean, he has got, where are we, Sunday? He doesn't start till Friday. He's got a few days with his feet up.
Yeah. Who's going to be the person that goes to Jimmy and say you're not playing at Old Trafford?
I don't know.
I think it all depends on tomorrow. I mean, if England can get something out tomorrow, obviously if they lose, they're going to have to win that last Test match. So whatever happens tomorrow, you feel that they're going to try and play the best team. But you've also got to be sensible. You've got to be reasonable. That you're asking the likes of Ollie Robinson, Jimmy Anderson, India, you're asking Jasprit Bumrah, Siraj to bowl so many overs that you wouldn't want them to get injured. But knowing the players, knowing the characters, they'll all want to play. In a series that has been so special, that pretty much every single game has been on a knife edge. It's only really been the Headingley game that England took away from India inside the first few hours. Every game, Trent Bridge, Lords, now here at the Oval, has gone right down to the wire. Anything could happen tomorrow. I like Simon's first question to Woakes that surprised him about the draw.
Yes.
I wasn't expecting that. Well, that's Simon Manfield. He fires in a question that you're not expecting. I think England, Aggers, that they'll talk about obviously chasing it, but I think if you said now in that dressing room, would you take the draw? I think they'd grab it.